It's the Buzzard Show. Recorded in scenic Columbus, Ohio, and available everywhere. Is that his real name?
Yeah. You're doing great.
Okay. The Buzzard Show. Yes, it is his real name. Now, let's do this.
That's right, folks. Buzzard is the name. Talking is the game. Welcome back. Where have you been? We've been busy. Been doing shows. Actually, I didn't do any shows last week. It's all right. I decided I was going to do a format change. I had a couple, I reach out to my friends that listen, both of them, and had some suggestions. And one of them was clearly the show is hard to talk about. What is the show about? And that was a good a good point, because I'm like, well, I don't know what the show's about. It's just stuff I want to talk about. So what did I decide I wanted to talk about? And that's really why I took an extra week to figure that out. And basically, there's things that are important to me. One of them is trying to stay healthy. And I struggle with do you have to be a fanatic to be healthy? And on my list of guests and people that are going to be on the show and people that are coming up on the show, they're experts in that field of working out or whatever, being more better. Yes, I intentionally did poor grammar. Call the grammar police. So that's going to be a part of the show. I'm going to try to stop saying a little more often. No, I'm kidding. I'll say as much as I want. The other thing is, the entertainment / arts, and as a musician, I always want to know what keeps somebody else going. Because it's hard. You can believe or read or see anything you want to see on the whatever is equivalent to MTV now, whatever you kids are watching, probably something on the YouTube. But the struggle's real, and it's hard, and there are a lot of times where it's very difficult to continue. And so I have a soft spot in my heart for people who take on difficult challenges and keep on keeping on. Keep on fighting the good fight. So that is something that's going to be a part of the show. So far, if you're keeping track, in the fitness realm, then the other one would be in the rock and roll realm. But rock and roll can be loosely based on any form of entertainment. And the other is, honestly, it's just how to stay balanced. Like, I think it's, I don't think this. I know it true to in myself. That I can get so far down a rabbit hole on any topic that I start to neglect other aspects of day-to-day life. And it could be anything from, why are they building so many damn traffic circles in the neighborhood, to what laws are being passed, who's passing the laws, my conspiracy theory crap that oozes from my noggin. But there's got to be a way to balance this stuff. Like, you can still be curious about how something works, but you don't have to go to the factory to watch it be built. You don't have to necessarily know how all the sausages are made. So finding a way to balance life is something I think is my biggest hurdle. I can totally be workout machine guy, and then I get bored with it. And then I can totally be like, whatever guy, and then I get bored with that. So I've always been envious of people that seem to have from 8 to 9, I do this, and then from 9 to 12, I do that, and it's every day. I can't even have the routine of a steady haircut. So that's the show now. The show is going to be fitness, family, fun, stuff. The 3 F's: fitness, family, and fun, and balance. The 3 F's and a B. Fitness, family, fun, balance show with the Buzzard, which is me. So speaking of, the first guest on the new format with the new one guest show is a friend of mine, Mr. Drew Hanson. And Drew and I are by no means best buddies. We didn't grow up together. We knew each other. We had more of a professional affiliation than probably anything else. When my band Saving Jane, top 40 darlings of the mid 2000s, when we were playing and active, the radio station in town was a massive part of helping us get to the next level, WNCI, and they, to this day, we're friends, great friends with them. When I say we, I guess me. I'm good friends with a lot of those guys. And Drew was on the station at the time. And honestly, from my perspective, Drew was always the cool kid. He was always the guy kind of wanted to be like good-looking guy, outspoken, said his mind, had the crazy cool radio show in a time when really that was almost unheard of to kind of have an original kind of show. Every time you saw Drew, there's people around him, and it's just he was the cool kid. And then Drew had a couple life threw him some curves, and he went threw his hat in the ring essentially. He got out of radio and went to Chicago, and I started following him on Facebook, and this would have been like when Facebook was fairly fresh, fairly new. And I totally gained a great respect for him, for his struggle. Now, Drew's a passionate guy. He totally, when he goes into something, he's totally in. But he's a creative, and he has a love of entertainment. And I was just really glad that we had a chance to sit down and talk. And it was a great talk, and maybe we'll even do it again. So this is my unedited. Honestly, I'm going to trim a couple things, and I got to cut out a couple of F-bombs because we don't do the F-bomb here at the Buzzard Show. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, meet Drew. All right. Holy cow. I'm in an urban apartment with a rock and roll, a DJ.
No, I like that.
Hip-hop.
Rock and roll's fun.
Rock and roll DJ legend of sorts, social media king, Mr. I'm going to call you Mr. Drew Hanson.
I don't mind that.
Okay, so
you might offend some gender normative stuff that is these days. Nobody, I don't know. You never know when you call him Mr. or Mrs. anything anymore.
Well, I could call you human.
I don't know what Miss is even. I never knew what Miss is. Does Miss mean you're divorced? Does that mean?
I used to think. Remember Ms.
Ms. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Ms. Is the one that you don't know what it means.
Implied a divorce, maybe.
Yeah, I could see where a woman, if they said Ms. whatever, they would get offended. That what do you think I was married, divorced?
Right.
Like you could say their entire backstory with just
one simple. And honestly, isn't that better? Like just with the name, you're like, oh, okay, I got it. I don't.
Now it's safe.
Now it's safe.
Now, if you called a woman Ms., she'd be like, Thank you. I appreciate that. That is very, because you can't say anything. Did you see the Ashley Judd thing the other day? When
I'm going to tell you, this is the honest God truth. I am so overreacting. That I can't even look at it anymore. Like
I can't either.
So and what sucks is anyone that's got a legitimate beef is now going to be buried under stuff that isn't, be it legitimate or overreacted or whatever. Like there's social injustices that happen right now. There's shit going on that's terrible. And if somebody got called the wrong thing at the wrong time and they took offense to it, like I get it, but the avalanche of social media that is just so negative. Like if it wasn't for our, the business we're in, the entertainment business, I would probably take an actual hiatus. I try to do a year if I could, just to be like, no more.
I always thought, because I mean, I'm not kidding. There has been moments I've been on a stage, and I'm thinking, if I just quit tonight and went to the mountains and did monk Buddhism for like a year, I could do it. And it was an actual option at some points.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say what level of intoxication I was at that point, but I would be so unhappy that I would go, tonight, when I get this check, tonight's the last check. I'm going to get the check, and I'm going to go to be a Buddhist monk someplace. And I'm going to do it because I need it, because I need to just let all this just go.
Let this go.
So we're coming out hot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is the fun stuff.
I didn't think anything else would happen. I mean, this is how we normally are. Every time we meet up.
When we and it's always like, so you have a pretty busy schedule, and I have a schedule that's like very unforgiving. Like, I mean, I have, because I have, my kid at home during the day, and then I try to gig as much at night, plus the other things I try to get going off the ground. Always hustling, trying to get something to happen.
I go in phases.
Yeah.
And I go in phases where, like January, February, obviously we've talked during that time, and we can go to wing night any night during January and February.
Nothing to do.
Because there's nothing to do.
And then this summer, as a performer, this may be my busiest summer ever. I've averaged 6 nights a week.
I know. This is the first time I've seen you in a long time.
Right.
And since it's your podcast, I'll put you over. You look fantastic.
Why, thank you.
It's obvious you've been going to the gym.
I go to the gym.
It's obvious I have not been.
But see, I used to refer to it, and you can use this, that I'm working on my before pictures.
Oh,
that's I'm trying to get to my before person.
That makes sense.
And then really blow it out of the water. Then people are like, oh my God. So, and now you look great. I mean, you kidding me? A couple pounds. What's a couple pounds? Nothing. You'll get it. You'll get it.
What were we saying about offensive things you can't say to anybody? Now I'm going to have an eating disorder. A couple of pounds. A couple of pounds.
What's a couple of pounds?
What did he mean by a couple of pounds? Did he mean 10? Did he mean like on social media? I'm a few pounds extra. That's a couple of pounds. Is a few pounds extra.
I think you look great. I said you look great.
All right, sure.
You always look great.
Yeah, thanks.
You actually do always look great.
Oh,
that's the thing. I go from.
We're at my house. We're on my couch. Are we going to make out now? What do we?
I mean, I got nothing to do. I got an hour and a half left in the meter.
Oh boy, I don't know what you meant by the meter, but okay. All right.
But seriously, try the veal.
Yeah, let's not go off the rails too quick.
So, something that's interesting, and we've talked about this, and I said it when I introduced you, but you were a radio guy, and then when you went away from radio, you made a decision to not go immediately back to radio, and you went to Chicago, and sought out basically an entertainment career at the next level.
Well, I didn't have anything left to lose. I had cancer, and I mean, that was like $300,000 in debt.
Yeah.
I would get bills, and I'm not kidding you. I didn't have health insurance. This was the and I don't want to get political and piss off anybody, but this was the current healthcare situation that we have, which who knows next week when this goes up or whatever,
right? I mean,
if that's going to change.
Current is a liquid word,
but this was in 2008, and this was prior to this was summer of 2008, so I didn't have health insurance, and I would get bills. I'm not kidding you, that would come in the mail, and they would be for a chemotherapy treatment, or they would be for just a doctor's visit, or there was a thing called a PET scan, which they would do just to check and see, you drink this bottle of disgusting stuff, and then you go in this machine, and you can't move for 20 minutes. You're like one of those those sports statues,
like Han Solo in
the frozen carbonite. I mean, you can't scratch anything, you can't do anything for 20 minutes, and then they would get this printout and you'd have like little blue spots where all your cancer literally was. I mean, it's fascinating. You don't see this stuff, on the news or whatever, but I'd get a bill in the mail for one of these services, and it would say $27,643, due May 26th. All right, so how do you want to check? Like,
can I just drop that off?
Yeah, can I mean, can I Venmo that to you?
Yeah.
Can I, whatever. But yeah, I mean, you come out of something like that, and do you watch Rick and Morty?
No.
The TV show?
No,
okay.
no.
This reference won't mean anything, but there's a episode of that show where there's a virtual reality thing. that they're playing, and it's following, your life. Whatever, if your life continues a certain way. And this Morty kid sees it, and he goes, and then he gets cancer, and he worked at a carpet store, and he gets cancer, and then he goes back to the carpet store. So it became this giant metaphor, and this is obviously Rick and Morty's current, but in 2008, that was my life. And it was like, do I really want to go back and work at the carpet store after cancer?
Right.
And I didn't have any desire to do that. So I'm just like, what can I do? And my buddy was moving to Chicago, and he's like, let's just, in a true recession story, he's like, let's share a studio apartment for, Lincoln Park, which was a great area. We shared a studio apartment. We each paid $290.
Wow.
In a studio, but we were in a studio. It was miserable, but it was
so-
but now I look back on it, it was some of the most fun I ever had in my life.
Right.
And then we found all the dollar beer nights, and
Sure,
because there's all these great stories out of the recession. They're just starting to, just like there were out of the Great Depression, that all pop up about, how you somehow, how did I do that? Like, and you look back on it as some of the fondest time of your life, but at the time you're going, I'm scratching 2 nickels together to be able to do anything. Yeah. And it was, but that was, Chicago, and I don't know how I paid for Second City in hindsight. I don't know how that happened. Money just always appeared, and Second City's not a cheap school to go to.
No. And that's not so you don't just walk up and sign up, right?
No, you have to audition. And I passed because I had done a bunch of TV commercials here, and I did a film, and I was in SAG-AFTRA. I didn't have to do a bunch of the steps that a lot of people have to do. So I walked in the door and just went, okay, here's my resume, and here's everything I've done.
Here's how awesome I am.
I mean, it was just that I had done so much stuff here that I could never, ever recommend more, like cut your teeth someplace.
Yeah.
Like cut it, in a smaller place, and then you go to a bigger place. There's problems with it. You will always have challenges. You always have locals only and all that stuff.
Sure.
That, in Chicago, that was definitely a place that was like that. But I was able to skip probably about $1,500 to $2,000 worth of remediary stuff.
So, would you have to, a normal set of steps might involve
you start
intro class,
intro to whatever, intro to telling a joke, intro to tying your shoes, intro to everything, and then they basically go, okay, you have to take 2 classes, and then you can audition for the conservatory. And the conservatory is where all the big names that you hear, they come out of that place.
Now let's just to share it. Second City.
Chicago.
I know.
Well, yeah.
Who's the famous people?
Oh, God. Anybody from... Now, not so much lately.
Was Aykroyd one of the...
Aykroyd, the very first cast of Saturday Night Live was all Second City, Chicago.
That's what I thought.
Probably until the last group of people that came from Second City, Chicago was like the Tina Fey.
Okay.
Like that was like the last group, because they don't do that as much. They just stay in New York. They just get, people from New York City. They get stand-up comics.
Right.
They get people that can just do a good impression, like Jay Farrow, who never took an improv class in his entire life.
But can do a good impersonation.
But can do great impersonations. Yeah. It's less of the formula that Second City was built, and it's just kind of more about, what specific skill set do you have? Now look at the famous impressions are famous established actors.
Right.
They're, Alec Baldwin and
right.
All that stuff. They don't use cast members really for all the big parts anymore.
That's true.
Which is really sad, because they've lost their identity as the not ready for primetime players place.
Yeah.
The last person that came from Chicago.
How many people would even remember that? The not ready for prime
unless you're in the
time.
business.
Yeah.
No. Unless you know the business and you're in the business.
Yeah.
It was a transition that just happened so seamlessly that nobody even noticed it, that Saturday Night Live is no longer that place.
Right.
They're in the business. They're in the business. They're in the business of making films. They're in the business of doing this and this and this. It's not, we found this kid, we discovered him, from an improv class in Chicago, and then we brought him to Saturday Night Live. That's why when I came back here, a lot of people went, man, it's a bummer that you didn't go from Second City to Saturday Night Live. And I'm like, who the F did... You're welcome.
Yeah, look at that.
You censored me. You said
saw
you're clean.
The pause. And
you're clean on iTunes. No, who the F did from my class or from any other class?
Yeah.
There's one guy from my class that I see him pretty much every other commercial, and he's really doing well. But for the most part, everybody from my class just didn't really do anything. Now my teachers, they did a lot of stuff. A.D. Bryant, I had a class with her. I had a class with Paul. I forget his name.
Bunyan.
But no, he's not on the show anymore. He was only on for like a season. Paul Britton.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I had a class. He
Yeah.
did the Johnny Depp impression. I had a class
Yeah.
with him. He was at Improv Olympic in Chicago. So, the only people that ever really made it were the teachers, and they're, 20 years into doing improv and making $50 a week doing shows and stuff.
Right.
Zero future in it, but the experience was unbelievable on a resume, and it just always looks good. When somebody
Yeah.
sees Second City on something, they just go, "Oh."
Yeah. That's that level of seriousness. You don't casually go to.
You don't.
It's one thing to go to bartending school to learn how to mix drinks for your parties. It's another thing to go have worked on a cruise ship for 10 years.
Yeah, I've always heard never go to bartending school. Have you heard that same thing?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I've always heard if you want to go to bartending school, if you want to work at like catering companies or something like that.
Well,
Like,
remember
that was
the
like-
old American School of Technology that was up on Morse Road?
might be ahead of my time.
There
I
was
don't remember.
it was. You're only a couple years older than me. Come on, ahead of your
But
time.
I came here to Columbus in the 90s.
Oh, okay. Well, there was the 90s basically was the American School of everything.
Right.
There was an American School of dentistry. There was an American School of
Truck masters.
Yeah, truck masters, and this was and then a lot of these places have fallen to the wayside, but a lot of them have, like that ITT Tech is still.
They're booming, actually.
Yeah, they're booming because I think they actually place people and things. But this was like that Sally Struthers. Do you want to be VCR repair? That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I drove by. This is my moment where I go, "Oh, this is BS." I drove by the American School of Technology, and their sign only had 3 letters that were working. I'm going, how do you? I mean, that's got to just be a light bulb change or something. How do you not?
Well, you have an entire. Easy to assume there's an entire building full of people.
There's capable students in that school. That
let
can
alone the
change.
teachers that you couldn't make a class project out of it. Like today, we're going to fix the sign.
I would think that would be the very first thing that you would want to change. I don't know. Whatever.
So okay, so you do Second City, and your goal going into Second City was just to go to Second City? Was that the goal?
I truly didn't have a goal. I was operating without a playbook
Right.
at that point. I was operating with nothing. Everything I made was that money that I had on that day.
Yeah.
And in many aspects, I still live that way. In entertainment, come on.
Absolutely.
We live that way. Unless we're really good and tuck in money under a mattress and
most
stuff
of
like
us
that.
aren't.
And most of us aren't.
No.
When you hear these NFL players that are broke by 5 years after they're out of the league, I'm going, of course they are.
Because it's a cash flow issue. Like, in the entertainment business, from local to national, when you're doing well, when things are fat, there's money everywhere.
Yeah.
And when it goes lean, there's money nowhere.
No.
And, that's those NFL guys. These guys sign these big contracts. I mean, it's nothing but cash. And then one day it stops.
Yeah.
And everybody else got paid. Those contracts, I've read enough about it that, they sign a $20 million contract, but that's actually about a $6 million contract of actual money. Granted.
I've learned this from watching the show Ballers.
Okay, yeah.
Have you watched that show?
No, but yeah.
I've learned that actually because I don't know anything about the NFL.
But
I'm not.
But
a big NFL guy.
how they cut, how it's like none of it's guaranteed and blah 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 blah. But
and if you get hurt, it all disappears.
it's like,
yeah.
Other than your agency, yeah. So okay, well, enough about these NFL guys. That's
But
just a fad.
it's comparable.
It's just a fad, anyways.
Oh well, it's gonna be yeah.
So you went through Second City, and at the same time you were maintaining a living as a club DJ. That was mainly
Bars, yeah, mostly bar. I never branded myself as a club person because I just every gig I've ever had has just been like the bachelorette party place,
yeah,
or the a lot of us like Dancer and a lot of us guys that
Yeah.
came up in the we're never cool enough to be the club people,
Yeah.
but yet we're our own cool where the bachelorette parties and stuff like that know us from,
Yeah.
because they're the 25-year-old girls that listen to the radio or they're
Right.
whatever, and so that's kind of been and Chicago another reason that I left was because there was just me. I had a DJ company, and that just went south because you had to trust other people with handshakes and with your money and with your gigs and with all that stuff. And then they're inevitably going to screw you. They're inevitably going to do this. They're inevitably going to do that. They're going to think they're too cool for school. They're going to think, I can do this just as easy without him giving me the gigs or whatever else.
Yeah.
So
I don't need that guy.
I don't need that guy. Screw him. And they never think like, oh crap, this guy's networked and blah 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 blah. So
I can tell you, from my own personal, and then anyone that ever can call me a liar or whatever, but the best decisions I've ever made is to have either an agency or representation. What you pay, as far as like your percentage of like the versus the projects you have access to, there's no comparison.
No.
Now choosing the wrong one can be a problem.
Yeah.
But-
And I've never had a DJ agent, but I did have an acting agent, and it was flawless. I mean, it was just I just show up
It's
and
the
do
best
this.
money I've ever spent.
And I tried to do that for DJs. I made sure they were set up. Like I'd go and myself personally set up their gear during the day. They would make more cash than I ever made as a starting DJ.
Right.
Whatever. And then you still get the knife.
Yeah.
Because they get in their own head. They
Yeah.
believe they're, or
Believe
they get
their
other
own
people
hype.
in their head. They get their girlfriend in their head. They get another DJ in their head. They get a bar owner in their head. They could even get them for $25 less.
you don't need that guy.
You don't need that guy.
What's
Let's
he-
get rid of
you
that
can't
guy.
carry
Yeah,
your
an old
stuff.
loyalty. I did it.
I'll cut it out.
I did it. I have. Come on, we went a solid 15 minutes without me
That
doing
was
that.
actually maybe the most we've ever spoken without.
We're usually every
Yeah,
other word.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I did it. I did it. I dropped it. Damn. All right.
I'll have to come up with a very specific sound for it. Like I'll edit something in that'll be cool.
But then, when I'm on my own and I'm one person, your DJ, you work in Ohio usually, if you're lucky, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday, whatever, especially in the recession. Because there was, we're from a 7-night-a-week nightclub life. Like,
Yeah.
and especially, you said you moved to Ohio in the 90s.
Yeah.
You remember there was a night every night of the week. That
Absolutely.
You guys, I'm sure, were booked every night of the week.
One of the biggest nights, there was a club in the Brewery District,
Victories. Oh, I remember Victories very
Sunday
well.
nights was one of their biggest nights,
Yeah.
and Wednesday night was still a line out the door. Like, I mean, it was that place. I struggled with like. I hope it exists somewhere. It doesn't really exist. Seemed to.
I don't think
here.
I don't know that it may exist in a big city like Vegas or whatever. It definitely doesn't exist in
No.
Chicago either. But
And how much bigger do you get than Chicago? There's only 4 other cities in front of it.
But my thinking was when I was sitting there and I'm going, what do I do next? I'm watching the Cubs on TV and I'm seeing, all these bars on the strip and I'm going, man, like you work in the summer when the Cubs are home every single day if you're a DJ for one of those bars.
Right.
So I'm going, all of a sudden this takes me out of the Thursday, Friday, Saturday deal, and then I'm making money on a Monday afternoon or as a DJ or a Tuesday afternoon or whatever. And yeah, I knew I wasn't just going to walk, well, at least I thought I knew. I thought, I'm going to walk in with my resume and blah, blah, blah. That's when you run into locals. I mean, and I'm telling you,
Local
I can't,
surfers only, dude.
yeah, surfers only on this wake.
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers and Point Break. I got that reference.
Yeah, goodwill.
So, God, we're old.
Hi, welcome to Old Timies.
Hi.
Old Timey Radio.
Welcome to Old Time Podcast. Today we talk about
On 45. I'm going to release this on 45.
breakfast and why it's not the most important meal of the day. Why you can just have dinner at 6 and spread it into the next day. Anyhow, but yeah, so, it took about 2 years for me to start getting gigs. It's just, befriending talents that live in the city and then making enemies also. And just kind of, it's almost like I was an actor that went to a completely different TV series, but I was kind of playing the same character.
Okay.
Just like Jason Bateman. He always just...
By the way,
Oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah,
that's for me saying the F-bomb.
That's for you saying the F-bomb. It's the F-bomb police. So, and we can either talk about it or not talk about it, but you're an active dude on social media.
Yeah.
And I'll just call it, I don't know if it's a strategy or if it's just like, you're all over the place.
Sometimes it's a strategy. Sometimes I'm just drunk.
Yeah. But which is, and you know what? That should be on your business card.
Sometimes it's a strategy and sometimes it's just, but here's what's funny. What I'll keep on there is a strategy. And then what I'll delete is I'm just drunk.
So you made a knock similar to that on Jason Bateman. And I was like, and I almost got jumped on because I was like, Jason Bateman's new show, Ozark, is pretty dope.
It is, but he's still Jason Bateman.
He's still Jason Bateman.
He always does that thing where...
It was true. I'm like, you're right. Yeah,
Jason Bateman plays the same character, but it's, what's the difference is?
He plays a great everyman.
Timing. It's timing.
Yeah.
He always is the guy, well, I'm a family man. I do the right thing.
Yeah.
I do whatever, and I'm surrounded by chaos.
Yes.
And then in turn, I become chaotic.
The Arrested Development guy, it's just like he's basically branded that character. No one can touch him.
No.
Like that.
No, and he does nuances in every role. Yeah. When I'm watching, when he was talking to, and I don't want to turn this into an Ozark fanboy thing, but have you finished the show?
No, I'm at 50%.
Okay, so you've seen the pastor, Mason.
Yes, I've seen him.
Okay.
Yes.
So he has this later on, and I'm not going to spoil anything for you just by conversation, but he's having this conversation with the pastor, and he total does a Jason Bateman, where he gets real quiet when he's making a point, looks him dead straight in the eyes, and then he says, "You're not that kind of guy, are you?" And then he does that wink.
The Jason Bateman.
The Jason Bateman. Where
Yeah.
he's, you're really not that guy. Come on.
Yeah,
That's not really
the show is
buddy,
really
buddy,
strong.
and he always buddy. He
Yeah.
always throws a buddy in there too. Jason Batemanisms are. Yeah, he could show up to every audition and go, "I'm Jason Bateman."
Just Jason Bateman. And how long did he not work? Think about that.
That was addiction. Yeah, and that's why he's a great role model. Like it's Downey and everybody else. Like addiction, just.
Oh, was that his thing? Like he was
that's
in
why
trouble?
he didn't work. He was one of those child actors. Do you remember he was on the Hogan family?
Valerie's show
Until she left the show, they killed her off or whatever, and then.
Yeah.
He was kind of the star of the show. He was a child actor and all the teen magazines and stuff. Which whenever didn't you want to be that kid?
I still want to be Jason Bateman.
No, but I mean as that kid, like
Yes.
you thought, that's nothing but sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
God, man, they all end up.
They're always wrecked.
But then you have that turnaround story where they like Downey and like Bateman and everything else where they.
Robert Downey. I mean. He makes Charlie Sheen look like like a caricature as far as Robert Downey was a real criminal, a real drug addict, did all the things that you're not supposed to do, and now what
was the biggest one? Didn't he get caught? The biggest one was he got caught in an alley with a crack whore.
Yeah,
and it was like pants were not on.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Would you ever believe that you could go from that to 50 million a picture? You would never believe that's possible.
For Disney.
And for Disney.
For Disney of all people.
Oh my, that's a very short memory to be able to do that. Like Hulk Hogan will never be back in the WWE, and he just said the N-word a few times.
Right. And but that is, like they say it in a lot of sports, the best way to give your peers amnesia is to win. The more you win, the more they forget about what you did wrong.
Or just look exactly like Tony Stark and have the same mannerisms and have the same addictions and have the same.
Yeah.
I mean, we both are comic nerds. He's the perfect Tony Stark.
I remember when they after it came out. I to this day, and I'll put all $6 I have to my name. That first Iron Man is.
You've got 4 more than I do.
That first Iron Man is the best comic movie to date.
Oh,
there's been and it set such a strong tone for everything else that everything else comes in. I feel a distant second. Like it captured everything perfect. The only thing that's at number 2 would be Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 2.
I thought that one was really good too.
Really strong.
Yeah.
I didn't like Tobey Maguire as the cast, but it was the perfect comic book movie.
Have you watched it lately?
No, I need to.
Okay, I did. Actually, my trivia concept, I did, because I like to time it with events that are currently happening in pop culture. So the 4th...
Well, it's a pop culture show.
Well, yeah. And the 4th was like 3 days before the Homecoming movie. So at my previous location where I did trivia, I decided to do Spider-Man 1 and 2. Because I feel like after 2, it just went to crap.
It went to crap.
The Garfields were crap.
They're very forgettable.
Yeah.
Like, I think their biggest crime is they're forgettable, and they tried to appease too many things. Like, he was a decent cast, and the movie visually looked fine. It just, they didn't put their stamp on it.
Yeah.
No, I've never been in charge of a multi-zillion-dollar movie, so I don't know how hard that is. But
I hate to say this, but in watching, and I hadn't watched it in probably a decade, watching Spider-Man 2, it doesn't hold up.
Is it pretty dated?
It's pretty dated. Yeah, it's pretty dated. And it's still not a bad
That's probably
movie,
why I haven't watched it, because I'm afraid it's not going to
But that was the standard for comic book movies at that time, and look how far we've come. I mean, Iron Man has now produced over 70 characters actively in the Marvel Universe that are on some digital medium of Marvel.
How crazy is that?
That's insane.
I remember...
Think of one that you haven't seen. There's a lot, but you're digging deep.
Yeah.
Or you're digging into a rights issue with Fox or Sony.
Right. I mean, they basically are using everyone they have access to.
I think they're eventually going to have access to everybody. I think that
the Sony deal was pretty groundbreaking.
They're going to see Sony. Fox is going to see that how the Sony thing happened.
Checks, like, wait a minute, how much money?
Yeah, and we don't have to
go.
write anything. We just give them the characters. We don't have to create a black Johnny Storm because
co-license. Just co-license it and send it and get checks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But the
You knew we'd branch off into everything, didn't you?
Well, I totally expected this, but I think just to reel it back a little bit.
Okay.
So you came back from Chicago to Columbus.
Yeah, and it's been horrible.
It's been horrible.
Not really. No, it's not. It's been horrible from I had a bad first week back here, and it's literally been just that first week just ever since.
Yeah.
I mean, because I left.
Yeah.
And I came back, and you know what it's like.
Oh, totally, man. I know, those preconceptions, those people that don't like you for success that you did have or didn't have or whatever. When you make yourself a target, which is what you do.
I do that, and I know that.
I mean, I don't mean you. I mean, this is what entertainers in general.
But I do that.
When you make yourself a target, somebody's going to throw something at you. They just will.
Or a lot of people will. Yeah, and Chicago, unfortunately, made me realize everything that I did here the first time incorrectly. I was a horrible person at networking. I never really took the high road after, I departed a gig because I just thought, that guy's an idiot. Why did I work for that guy? Or, I would kind of think stuff like that just because I'm always thinking of my grand vision and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And, man, nothing will humble you like Chicago. I mean, I'm dealing with...
Big leagues.
I'm dealing with like DJ mafias.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I would get my tires slashed. I got my gear stolen out of my car. Nobody knew my gear was in my car.
Right. It was a target.
It was a target. The only person that did that knew my gear was in my car. And it was, I had problems like that. And I still, kind of maintained, strong as long as I could for presentation purposes.
Yeah.
It's almost like you could be broke but still wear a three-piece suit just because you just can't break that presentation. Like we were talking about the NFL players, they lose all their money.
Right.
How often do you think they're still wearing their three-piece suits and maintaining the presentation?
Right.
So that city just beat the crap out of me and broke me, and there was a lot of accomplishments in it too, but I just after I got mugged a couple of times and just all the experiences that I had there, we're both fans of Arrow.
Yeah,
I look at Chicago like my time on the island. And if you're a fan of that show, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I came home. I mean, and as much as I kind of rib this place and I do kind of give it shit, and shit's okay.
Yeah, shit's fine.
Shit's fine. All right. Anything that you could say on Comedy Central after 10 o'clock.
After 10 o'clock, exactly.
So you could say F word on after 10 o'clock on Comedy Central, I think. No, 1 o'clock. You could say it because they show the unsend. Never mind. Not the point. So I came back here, and my fledgling friendship with one of my best friends at that point the writing was on the wall, because the reason that I ended up back here was because of apartment roommate issues, which we've all had them. Mm-hmm. Never live with another entertainer.
It's hard. It's
really hard. Plus, when you have the outs, it's almost like a divorce. Your friends take sides, all this other stuff, and then we've had our problems. I'm not going to say anything bad words about him, but there's this DJ board in Chicago, and the first week I was back, he added me to the DJ board. Welcome back, and I tried to network with people, and I tried to say, listen, I love my trivia concept more than I love DJing bars or anything like that. So I just want to work with people on networking with trivia and things like that. We're all friends. We're all in the same business, whatever. So this place was opening out in Hilliard. And they had not hired a DJ yet. They had not done anything. So I go to the guy and I say, listen, and this was a thing I learned in Chicago, for 1 week, for the first week, I will do this gig for half of my normal rate. After that week, if you like it, I'll do, a 6-week contract or an 8-week, whatever, with you at my normal rate. So this other guy that was competing for the gig just, puts me on blast on this DJ board. Hey, people who may or may not be coming back from Chicago, which, right. Obviously, we know who that is. Hey, people who may or may not, you're taking food, which, I mean, and it gets even stupider.
Yeah.
He goes, you're taking food off the table of other DJs in this town and blah, 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 blah. And I never got to explain myself. I gave him a 1 week deal, which I'll do, if my first week of hashtag trivia is for free.
Yeah.
I give that to every
Proof of concept.
Like I can't expect you to just go, oh, well, I'm just guessing he's a superstar. Let's just go ahead and agree to a $300 a week contract.
Right.
You have to give a little bit to these people. You can't just come in with the, I'm a DJ, I'm worth this much.
Right.
And that was another thing I learned in Chicago. If you're not making them money, your
You're not
worth
worth
is
anything.
crap.
Yeah.
You guess what? You've got an ego. Congratulations.
Yeah, great. So does everybody.
Everyone else does. Yeah. If you're not making them the money that's worth them to write that, if they don't write you that check at the end of the night or pay you that cash at the end of the night and feel good about it, you're a liability.
Yeah.
You are not an asset.
You're a utility bill. You're
You are a
you're
utility
the gas bill that I don't like to pay.
Yeah. You're the thing that goes, whatever. So I felt pretty grounded and pretty humbled when I came back here. So that guy says that. And then my reply is, I see this and I go, no, say who it is. He goes, I'm not going to mention any names. I go, no, say who it is. Oh, that person knows who they are. And they don't. I go, no, say who it is. Nothing.
Yeah.
Say who it is. I just kept doing it. I kept saying, like I'm not kidding, every 30 seconds. And he caught me at a little bit of a party time.
Sure.
When I was out enjoying myself. Say who it is. Say who it is. Say who it is. He still never would. So all the DJs interpreted this as me harassing him.
Right. You're now the jerk.
I'm now the jerk. So the two, I guess, kings that run this DJ board, we have this giant meeting on Monday, and I'm kicked off the thing. So, it's like Arrested Development, like the magicians.
Yeah.
The
the
thing.
guild or
the
whatever,
magicians guild. So I'm out of the DJ board. No, I'm out. However, will I ever survive? But believe it or not, that's actually caused me some grief because in every market, everyone does talk.
Oh yeah.
So
absolutely.
And there was I didn't want to go backwards. I didn't want to keep doing. I would never want to do a bar schedule like I did in the early 2000s or the 90s where I'm doing 4 straight DJ nights.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even want to do a whole weekend. If I did a Friday, I'd be fine. If I did a Saturday, I'd be fine. And then if I did trivia 2 or 3 nights a week,
that'd be the way to go.
freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
And then do all right, a bar gig, let's be realistic. For a DJ, if you're lucky in 2017, if you get over $200 for a bar gig as a DJ in 2017, and I don't care who you are. If you've got a radio broadcast, live broadcast, you're not making what you made in the 90s.
Yeah.
You're not making what you made in the early 2000s. Nobody is. So if I can book a schedule full of wedding stuff and do my trivia during the week, I'm a happy boy.
Yeah.
That's
No, you were featured on a television show, right? With for the wedding DJ stuff.
yeah,
right?
yeah, and I didn't even know it until that day.
Really?
I didn't
like
know
they
it.
just showed up to film you?
They were hush hush like the president was going to be there. Wow. Seriously, nobody at the only people they knew were the bride and the groom of the wedding.
Now, was it here in Columbus?
No, that was in Chicago. That was at the Hard Rock Hotel in Chicago. So I showed up and did that event, and I had to sign all this paperwork and stuff, and I talked to TLC and they let me use the footage, even though I'm never mentioned by name in the footage. And I was never in the credits afterwards because I wasn't doing that gig as myself. I was working for a company
I gotcha.
In Chicago because I never booked weddings by myself in Chicago. I always worked for a company because I was so burned out by the
Probably
process.
easier. Yeah.
Way easier. It was like you're working for an agent.
Yeah.
So you didn't make as much, but I didn't care. I mean, it was...
Again, that's the best money.
best-
Far as I'm concerned, it's the best money you can
Yeah,
spend.
you just show up.
Yeah.
You just have a time and you have the equipment you got to bring or whatever, and you show up and you play it. But no, I didn't know until that day. And I didn't know until like 2 days before I DJ'd Steve Burns' wedding, who was a stand-up comic, that his best man was Vince Vaughn.
No way.
Yeah. Steve Byrne, who's a stand-up comic.
I was going to say, that name sounds familiar.
Grew up he's not a really big comic. He had a TV show on TBS for a couple of seasons called Sullivan and Son. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a good show. It was like a Cheers, but it was like a really raunchier Cheers.
Yeah.
And I watched it just because it got me geeked to go, I did that guy's wedding. But
Vince was at the wedding?
Vince, he was the best man of the wedding.
Did you get to chill like at all?
I
mean,
didn't-
I've been at those gigs where you're working.
Yeah.
You don't get a chance. It's not like you're a guest.
And it wasn't that vibe. I didn't want to, because I mean, it was one of the few times I'm like going, God, I hate that I have to be a professional right now. But here's who gave me the in. His wife. His wife was one of the bridesmaids, and she actually came up to me and she wanted In Trance, the Stayin' Alive version, which is a weird dated request. That's like 20 years old. So she wanted it, and she was the sweetest. She goes, if you can't do it, it's fine. She said, but it's just kind of an inside joke between me and the bride or whatever. And she never name dropped, Vince Vaughn's wife or anything like that. I just knew she was. And she's just some normal girl from Canada that Steve and his girlfriend set up on a blind date with. Yeah. And you look at her and you go, I could see Vince Vaughn, like, she's very beautiful, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I look at her and I go, like, I see Vince Vaughn with like supermodels and stuff. And this is just a normal looking, by all means, a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
In every human being's standpoint, but just very normal, plain Jane.
But not a Victoria's Secret supermodel.
But her personality, she was so sweet. She kept coming up and asking me if I wanted a drink or anything like that. She was catering to me. And then at the end of the way, I didn't speak to Vince once, ever, the entire reception. So I'm just only dealing with Steve. And so also in this bridal party was Peter Billingsley.
Oh, yeah,
Little Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
Hammered. Owen Benjamin, who's like another comic that's really not all that famous.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the guy that's on The Daily Show now. The black guy that is like the senior, Trevor always calls him our senior black correspondent.
Right.
Nemo. I can't remember his name. But he was on that Sullivan and show also, but he was in the bridal party. And at the time, I didn't know really any of these guys. I just know from looking back at the pictures, oh, yeah, these guys were in that bridal party. But then at the end of the reception, Vince Vaughn's wife comes up and she goes, so we're going to McFadden's downtown. Do you want to come join us? You're going to come join us, right? I go, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm definitely going to come join. She's like, here, text me, whatever else. So she gave me her phone number. And she was talking to me when we went to McFadden's about her like the kids and I had just like been a new uncle at that point. So I'm talking to her about my niece, and I'm like, my niece's birthday's coming up in October, and blah, 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 blah. I don't know what to get her. Like, it's like a second birthday. It's blah, blah, blah. And I'm new at this stuff. Like, what do you get a 2-year-old girl? Like, I've never bought anything but Victoria's Secret presents.
Right. So that wouldn't be, that's a no. That goes in the no side.
That's so you don't, there's not Victoria's, there's Gap Baby.
Right.
There's not Victoria's Secret Baby.
Yeah.
So I just, I got, here's the funny part though. About 2-3 weeks later, I get a text from her going, you know what would be the perfect gift for your niece? All right, I don't remember what it was that she said, but why is Vince Vaughn's wife 3 weeks after the wedding texting me about...
Probably looking at pictures, probably whatever. Like
and remembering the DJ did a good job.
DJ. I wonder what he got for his niece.
Yeah, going, the DJ did a decent job or whatever, and that was,
So was that the episode, though, that was on TLC?
No. They were two completely separate things.
Gotcha,
there was just a normal bride and groom that was on the TLC thing.
Yeah.
No, Vince Vaughn would never do a reality show.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's what he's in that echelon where you never do reality.
No, so he did what was that? He had that Vince Vaughn Wild West show, like that was the
Wild West comedy. That's where Byrne was on that show.
I was going to say, was Byrne on that? Yeah.
I don't think they met though on that. I think they were like, I got the vibe from the Best Man speech. Yeah, the Best Man speech. I definitely got the vibe that they were like childhood friends.
That's cool. I just love. Yeah, you know what? What's your favorite Vince Vaughn movie?
Wedding Crashers.
Clay Pigeons.
Clay Pigeons. Yeah. Was that when he was like after?
It was after Psycho.
Well, but everything after Swingers, he just wanted to legitimize himself and not be Mikey, the fun-loving party guy.
Right. Like
who's gonna your money and you don't even know it.
So imagine Swingers, but is a serial killer.
Why did he go to those roles? Why did he do Psycho? And then was that when the one with Travolta too?
No. Joaquin Phoenix was in that one.
But he did one with Travolta where it was a killer too. Vince Vaughn just wanted to be a killer for a few years.
Yeah. But it's that's my favorite one. Like because he's still got that that fast, that super fast dialogue, and but it's got there's a creepiness to it. It's really good. So
that had to be an agent telling him go so far the other direction of Swingers you won't get typecasted, and then later on you can go back to those kind of parts.
Well, just as a quick side note, like I read Steve Martin's book, which is a hard book to read, by the way. Like Steve's super smart, and he writes super smart.
Well, you can tell by his comedy that he's really smart.
But with Steve Martin, he had a plan. So like when he was a comedian, or like so his plan was to be a professional banjo player. But when he was a young man, he knew that professional banjo players don't make a lot of money. But he saw a comedian or whatever, and he's like, well, these guys look like they're doing all right. So he knew he wasn't naturally funny, but he could be outrageous. So he became the most outrageous.
Yeah.
On purpose, very intentionally, and developed a show that was outrageous. And the second he got cast in a movie, he never went back to comedy. And the second he got cast in a dramatic role, he never went back to funny roles. Like he would make sure that he closed those doors behind him as he was moving forward.
That's
and
interesting.
Now he's probably the highest paid banjo player in the world.
That's all he does?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him in a movie. I mean, I'm sure he'll do a role here and there, but you know that's the Steve Martin Banjo Band, whatever that, I forget what they call it.
Wow, I didn't consciously notice that.
The Steep Mountain Rangers. But yeah, it was like when you look at it in those terms, it's like, wow, that guy's so smart. It's freaky. But
Yeah.
but he's also very one driven. Like this is it, and this is all I'm going to, and then the next thing, that's all I'll go to. So.
I've never consciously noticed that.
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
Well, I mean, there's always those actors that have the side projects, and then people want to, or an actor that will play the venue right next to the Express. What's the venue where you play in the basement?
Oh, isn't it called The Basement?
I think it's called the Basement.
Yeah.
But
well done.
You'll have a really famous actor. Or like a Billy Bob Thornton or something like that. They will go ahead and do the and then they'll resent anybody that wants to come see them as Billy Bob Thornton the actor or as whatever.
Right.
And I guess I kind of get that.
I get that, but also it's like, you're taking the slot from some van band that's out there just trying to make it.
Right.
And you're angry that people showed up that are fans of your movie. Like, I mean, that's it's like, I get it. I totally get it. I mean, it happens. It happens to everybody in the field. But I want to be taken legitimately as an artist at this now. But then I'm going to go back and do a movie.
Well, that's why I never put on my trivia concept. I don't put my name on the promos or anything.
Yeah,
because it's more. I'm hosting it. I guess it's a little bit like a game show, and I'm hosting it. I mean, but I just don't want to Steve Harvey that stuff. And
no. Yeah.
Like go. It's hosted by me, and I was on this and the whatever.
So speaking of that, so you do the trivia sounds. We've mentioned a couple times. You're pretty passionate about it in general.
Yeah, because
do you think it spawns from a love of pop culture?
Well, I'm passionate about it because I just kind of invented it out of nowhere, and I don't want to be like Trump that says priming the pump, and I invent it. I'm sure that people using hashtags to do things, like people do it for their weddings and things like that now. But the way I discovered it was I was the host for the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts at a Colts bar in Chicago. So I had been pretty active as a Twitter user, and I just thought, what if I do, because I clicked on a hashtag one day and just saw the entire feed. And, when I would watch the Indians or watch Monday Night Raw or whatever, I would tweet along with it and watch the hashtags of it. And I go, this is pretty interesting. So then I would ask questions in the bar during the commercials about the Colts. And I go, what, the first correct under the hashtag of Mullins on Clark, you'll get this little toaster that makes the Colts symbol in the toast.
Sure.
Which that did exist and was a prize, which was fascinating.
That's awesome.
You can make toast and it will have the
Colts horseshoe.
The Colts horseshoe, and it looks like it literally was branded because it's toast. But so that's how I would give away the prizes. Well, then the Colts season ended, and I'm like, I'm on to something here.
Yeah.
Especially because we got trending in Chicago because the Colts retweeted us. Because one of the Colts they had a Colts backer promotion. We were a backer bar.
Yeah.
So the Colts retweeted us. So we were like number 10 or whatever on trending in Chicago. I'm like, now I'm definitely onto something.
Yeah.
So I knew I could do it during sports events or whatever, but I wanted to do it during pop culture and create its own format to it. So then I got a bar in Chicago that I would always just drink at or whatever. And I go, you know what, I'll do it for for the first 6 weeks, I'll do it for $100. And then if we start getting it over or we start doing good with it,
we'll figure it out.
Raise the price.
Yeah.
So I said, if it's not working after 6 weeks, just cancel it. And then we never had a conversation. And then it went a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was always $100.
Yeah.
But then I never got raised up from that. But trivia on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, whatever. I mean, if you're making between 1 and 150, I can't imagine any of these big giant trivia things unless literally they've got it so branded and concepted like those Geeks Who Drink or whatever that stuff is. But I'm more a concept person than I am like science or geography or anything like that. I mean, I throw softballs in these things, and I don't care if you Google, because the person that
first answer is just the first.
The
answer.
person that legitimately knows it's going to beat you if you Google it. Right. So and you don't have to run up with pens and papers and stuff like that. And to me, this is a no-brainer that this revolutionizes trivia. Yeah. But it's still so hard to get people to embrace change.
Yeah.
So it's more of a cult thing than it is, Well,
that's
never bad.
That's never a bad thing.
That's never a bad thing. Cult fans are where
that's your bread and butter.
You're a bread and butter. You're a legitimized performer because you have a base, you have a whatever else, and that's fine. If you spend 30 years with a cult fan base, you've had a career.
So speaking of careers, when did you start as a public figure, entertainment? How many years ago? When was it?
The first time I was on the air?
Sure. Let's go with that.
I was 14.
Now, were you steady from that point on?
No. It was a 15-minute every other Wednesday high school farm report on that shows you where I'm from. And that shows you, it was on an AM radio station. And I went by my real name, which big surprise. Yeah. We don't all have real names. But your real name is Buzzard.
Yeah, it's really Buzzard.
Which, what are you going to do in your life when your real name's Buzzard?
Tell me
what you're going to be a rock star. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
What's funny is in the years, when I was interview worthy, I guess, we were doing these, radio shows and stuff. And then I'd always get asked, is that your real name? And my response was always, if you were going to pick any name in the world to be your fantasy name, you're going to land on Buzzard? Really? That's where you're going to hit? You don't think I would name myself, Solid Stone Mago or, whatever.
Or it's like Batman where he's just going, God, I want to strike fear into the hearts of all of those who are evil. What do I do? And then he just randomly sees a bat outside.
Right, right.
You're going, I want to be a rock star.
And I want to see a buzzard.
And then you see a buzzard eating a pigeon in the middle of the street.
I'm like, that's it. So
done. That's the game plan. That's the career right there. I'm a buzzard that eats the pigeons of whatever.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
No, but I trailed off. But I was on, and then I got to be the commentator for basketball for my own county, and so I did all of the schools, and I was the color commentator, and nobody on the air knew I was 17 years old, and I was literally in high school.
Now, were you being paid for that gig, or was that still...
I got paid $25 per game, and there was one game a week, so I got paid $25 a week. And then on the weekends, I would do the church shows. My shift was Sunday, 6 a.m. until noon, and then once an hour, I would be able to go on the air and go, it's currently 43 degrees at WMRN Marion. I would be able to do that once an hour.
That's awesome.
And I'm not kidding. For 45 minutes, I'd go, it's currently 25. It's currently 25.
Oh, practice.
It's currently 25 degrees. It's current. So, and then I just record everything. And then in that studio time, I would go in and make fake tapes and send them out to places and stuff like that. And we had a rival station up the street that was a top 40 station. And they liked what everybody networks. They liked what I was doing. They liked that I was a young guy. So when I was 18, I was on the top 40 station. When I was 19, I was their afternoon drive guy. So I'm up to $250 a week.
Yeah.
Working afternoon drive. And then at that point, I'm going, because the rule of thumb in radio at that point is, just always make tapes for your next spot. Spend every week making, take the best of material you had during that week, make tapes, send it to your next spot. So I'm sending them all over. I wanted to be at NCI. So bad. So I'm sending tapes every week. So I get this crazy idea in my head that my tapes aren't getting listened to, so I'm going to get them listened to. So I send a tape to, this wasn't WNCI actually, this was 101 that I did this to. I sent because I was sending them all over Columbus, but NCI was the goal. So to 101, I sent a tape to the Papa John's, and I sent money for a large pizza. and I knew the program director's name, and I, instead of sending a tape to the program director, I sent a pizza with my tape to the program director. And that got me a letter.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you feed them.
It's smart.
You feed them.
Smart.
You feed them, you're freaking golden.
Clever.
Yeah. So she sent me a letter. She goes, I'm sorry, I'm going to reject you, but that was really smart. Like, I'll definitely remember you in the future. Blah, 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 blah. So WNCI finally, because at the point that I was trying to get in with them, when in the 90s did you move here? Early or middle, late?
Mid.
Okay.
Yeah, I got here. I moved here about 95.
Okay. So they had flipped at that point, but Sonny and NCI had this huge, giant, epic knockdown, drag-out war with each other. And what's hilariously ironic about it is it was the most boring music imaginable that they were at war over. Like, they both wanted to nail the 25 to 54. I mean, don't we all want to nail the 25 to 50-year-old women? No.
Try the veal.
try the veal. But so Sonny started beating them, and so NCI flipped to Sonny, because Dave Robbins, who's, the kind of guy who's like the art of war, everything he does is the art of war. So he goes, if you have the bigger audience, you have the bigger radio stick, if you don't do what they do, or you steal what they do, more people will hear what you're doing, and they'll confuse the two, and they'll just always pick whichever has the bigger stick, which is genius, actually.
Right.
So it didn't work. They dropped to 4th place. So finally he goes, nope, you know what? We're going the other direction. We're going to be young. We're going to be cool. We're going to be hip. We're going to be blah, blah. I'm doing a stereotype of a boss. We're going to be young. We're going to be cool. We're going to be hip. Who's that 19-year-old? Yeah, I'm 1940s boss. Who's that 19-year-old kid who keeps sending in the tapes? Hire him. Yeah, we're on it. Get in on my desk. 1940s boss. So I got on. I did the show called Sunday Night 90s, which was obnoxious. It was screaming, yelling in the microphone. It's part of the reason why I think I have a lot of voice problems to this day. But it was effective, and it just got me in this market. It got me. Then they put me on 7 nights a week or 6 nights a week on the night show, and that was it. So, but man, those days in radio were finished completely.
Right. Radio is going to have to find itself. Like, I think there's going to be a shakedown eventually.
I think it needs to go back to being live mom and pops 24/7. Yeah. I mean, but that's never going to happen.
That won't happen. Maybe what with this kind of goofy stuff that we're doing right here is going to somehow influence where radio goes. But who knows? But let me ask you this.
Okay.
As we're getting close to, we're getting close to wrapping.
Because your meter's about to run out.
Yeah, my meter's about to run out.
We could go all day, I'm sure.
Yeah. As a lifer, chasing the brass ring.
Yes. God, the brass ring. Sound like Vince McMahon.
Yeah. All right. Well,
chase that brass ring.
Or as a lifer in the circus, because that's what I say.
It is a circus.
I'm like, I've lived in the circus my whole life.
It is a circus, and we've been the bearded lady. Yeah. I've
been whatever it took.
Yeah.
If I've had to sweep up the peanut shells, I'll do that too. There's something about it. So advice isn't the right word, but like, what's your takeaways from, in my case, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I have obviously some perspective, but I don't know what it takes to make it. Like, obviously.
Well, you've had bits and pieces.
Sure.
I've had bits and pieces.
But I've never been able to put the bits and pieces together.
We've never had a full, entree out of it.
Yeah.
We've never had a full entree. We've just had an appetizer.
Like, ooh, this mint is delicious.
Yeah, we've had a taste of the mint, and then we've gone back to the paste that's on our kitchen sink.
Yeah.
And that's our mint.
Exactly. So, no. I mean, is there a takeaway, though? I mean, because, you actively have pursued, and you're still pursuing, and you reinvent yourself, and you reinvent a way to put yourself out there. Like, I mean, is staying loose on your feet?
There's things at this point, there's just things I know I don't want to do. I know I don't want to be a banjo player. I don't want to ever evolve to that and close every door behind me. But, I'll wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and just go, this is next. This is what I want to do next. And then, as fleeting as I think of it is, I'll go, that was kind of a stupid idea.
Yeah.
But, about a year ago, I decided I was going to sell my own marinara sauce. But
Drew Hanson's D-list celebrity sauce or something like that.
It was Drew Hanson's D-list famous.
D-list famous, that's it.
100% all natural some things are best left non-controversial. And I did that almost kind of as a joke, but it really sold. And I never had distribution on it or anything. I would have a Twitter account and a Venmo, and I would just tell people, if you want sauce this week, I'll give you a jar for $7 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd move. I mean, I moved probably maybe in the year or two, and I still do it. I mean, it's by all means, if you want to buy it, it's available. I'll do it. It takes 45 minutes to make a jar of it, and I just take it to bar people, and there's bar people I still sell it to every couple of weeks or whatever. But for that week, I wanted to be a guy that made his own marinara sauce.
Well, and we're coming full circle, but I can't tell you how many times I've walked out of a club or a bar or an event or whatever, and I get in my car and I sit and I kind of sag in the saddle. Like, I'm just like, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can keep doing this.
Do you think you're unique in that? Oh,
no,
my God. I think that every night.
Like, not only am I not unique, like, I wonder why the next day I wake up and I'm not starting my sauce company or my whatever. Like this, the entertainment business is like inviting yourself to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It's like, you're expected to take the punches in the face too. Like, that's part of the gig. And, man.
They call it the road less traveled for a reason. It effing sucks.
Yeah.
I wish I would have said it there, because it would have really pounded it home. The beep would have sounded proper there. But yeah, it does. It sucks. But I mean, what else would we do?
I tell people I'm currently unemployable. Like, I have done this for so long that you don't want me in your workplace.
I know that I literally am, because the second I hear, I mean, I'm so ingrained. I mean, I worked for a CD store in high school, and I worked briefly for UPS when I was like, in between radio gigs, or radio gigs wouldn't quite fit the bill or whatever. But other than that, I was a bartender for a bit, and that was okay.
You kind of dug that, right?
I did kind of like bartending, and I would like to do that again. But I was a bartender at a place where, like, it was not the cool hip young place. It was like the alcoholics go here to die,
shot in a beer kind of place.
Yeah, shot in a beer, and just and it. I couldn't really argue with these guys about politics, because then I wasn't doing customer service or whatever, but yet they wanted to argue with me about it.
Yeah.
But they were all literally 100% the opposite of who I am politically. I mean, we're in Ohio. It's like, let's just not get into it. But yeah. So it was fun for me when we'd have karaoke nights or whatever, but it was, but I enjoyed making the drinks. That was fun. Yeah. I mean, learning, like, oh wow, this is what's in this, and
the chemistry of it, if you will.
Yeah, the chemistry, and just how, like, just you can be a person that becomes a part of people's lives, even if you don't necessarily want to be. Like, I could see why girls, like, when they become bartenders, they'll do that middle name thing on Facebook, so they're not found. So
you're not found, right?
So they're like an attractive, a lot of girls in Chicago, they're kind of a little bit celebrities.
I can believe it.
Like, there was a girl I ran around with who did Playboy, and she was a bartender at, like, one of the coolest, Wrigleyville bars, and people would, like, she'd go,
stalk her.
Yeah, she'd see people pointing and doing, this, that, and the other, and she was famous. She'd literally go into work with a hoodie and sunglasses.
That's crazy.
And she'd leave work out the back with a hoodie and sunglasses.
That says how. I bet she banked too. I bet she
never had to worry about money.
Yeah,
ever. She never had to worry about money. So to some people, they get that level of celebrity. And to me, that's like reality show celebrity. Not to insult bartenders by any means, but, if you're not... Oh, God, I'm backing myself into a huge corner here.
We'll edit all of that out.
No, don't. I mean, I'm just saying it incorrectly, and I'm fixing it as I say it. Bartenders are celebrity in that they do develop a fan base. They have a very marketable skill. They are, to a certain extent, performing for people. You know what? Screw it. Bartenders are celebrities. I guess that is every definition of a celebrity.
As you were talking about it, I'm like,
as I'm saying
that's
that,
no different than...
I guess I'm just going from my experience of it.
Yeah.
Because it took me about 3 months of doing it for one guy to go, oh my God, you're Drew Hanson. And that was always a big fear I had, was like, somebody would see me bartending and think that I was less of whatever my entertainment thing, like if somebody sees you flipping burgers at McDonald's or something.
They're like, oh, well, he isn't really any good at what he does.
Yeah, but no, bartending is its own artistry. As I said,
it's customer service, it's comedy, it's theater, it's...
Yeah, and you can really do really well in it if you have a lot of, I mean, every bartender I know that's really done great has their own gimmicks and has their own, you know, the bottle flipping or having the, you know, come in tonight and it's, you know, whatever. Man, as I sit here, I'm like going, wow, I just didn't realize that's an actual, you know what? That's what who's hiring?
Yeah, who's hiring?
That's the next level.
Well, that's a great way to really bring us to the what we're not going to call it the end of the show. I think we're going to get you back because, you know, this was all right. We didn't even touch on wrestling. We didn't touch on a lot of stuff.
No.
But I do want to ask your new show.
New show.
What is it? Is it happening? Is it about to happen?
It's about to happen. It's done. It's a done deal as far as, well, you're helping me with it. So
Yes.
I guess we could kind of give you an executive producer credit.
Okay, deal.
Do you want that?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll executive
Do you want that?
produce.
Because you've got it. Because I'm looking at your gear here right now, and I'm going, this is just about exactly what I probably need to do.
Yeah.
But I've got, I can tell you the first show is not in the can as of yet, but we will record it in the next 2 weeks.
And social media, you'll do all the alerts like this.
I'll do all the alerts. Yeah. But the show, I asked about a month ago on Facebook, name one word that describes me. And this is not one of those Facebook things like, say how we met or whatever.
Oh, right.
I was really doing market research. I go, name one, because I wanted the show to be one word.
Yeah.
And the word that came up twice, which won it, was unhinged.
I like it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Because when you saw the name, like, I like that.
Because people read me more than they hear me. So a lot of things that I say on social media come off a little nuts. Or they come off a little, or they don't hear the pauses, or they don't hear the inflection, or they don't hear, now listen, hear me out. Killing babies is fine, but no, no, they'll only hear. You know, I don't know. That was a Louis C. I just ripped that off because I just saw Louis C.K. say that. But yeah, it's going to record in about a month or so, and the first show I've gotten permission from WNCI to record the first show, so it's going to sound really professional,
A little homecoming,
good, really good. Little homecoming, and my first guest will be Fish, my old night show partner for 3 years at the station, which nobody that is a millennial remembers.
So what were the years that you and Fish were on the air?
Fish and I were on the air as professionally as a team. I act like we had a personal life together. We were life partners.
We were together for a long.
No, we were. Well, every time I was Chris Davis's number one backup. So from '96 until 98, when Chris permanently moved spots, whenever Chris would take a break, I was his backup. So I was his like Jay Leno to Johnny Carson.
Right.
So then when he left, I got the gig. So Fish and I were off and on from 96 to 98. And then from 98 to 2001, we were together as a team on the air every night. So yeah, we haven't been on the air together since December 1st, 2001.
That's awesome.
So this is the first time that we will do a show. We got a couple of crazy ideas. We're going to basically open it. We're going to open the show. Well, I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, don't give it away.
Yeah, and we got a few crazy ideas. But we're going to open the show definitely for anybody who was there and anybody who isn't to totally get it.
Yeah.
So we're going to merge the two time periods. So that's going to start in about a month.
Cool. Looking forward to it. I'll share it in the show notes and everything, and I'll do an update whenever your show posts. So everyone on my side, if they want to hear more from Drew Hanson Unhinged, they'll know where to go.
I love it.
Drew, thanks for hanging out. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you. I knew we wouldn't. I knew we wouldn't have any lull in conversation.
Yeah, and I'm going to hit. We're going to record because we've just been conversing.
Sweet.
I'll talk to you later. See, I told you that was going to be fun. And you're like, I don't know if it's going to be fun. It's just going to, be somebody talking to somebody talking. Well, it's a podcast. What do you expect? Of course it was fun. Hey, thanks to our sponsor, Scott Dietering Photography. If you want a family portrait, I don't think he paints them, hence the name photography. But he takes family portraits and he does like headshots. And that's very important if you're in the entertainment field, or perhaps you need a really nice badge picture for your, your work ID, or I am actually planning on putting my face on a billboard on a park bench. I don't know why. I just think I've always wanted to do that. So I'm definitely going to get Mr. Dietering to check me out and take that picture. So it's scottdietering.com, and that's SCOTTDEITERING.com. But check it out. It's totally great. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Is that it?
Yep. That's it.
Huh. Okay. It's the Buzzard Show.